Hi, Jim. My wife just matched into residency in North Carolina for her intern year and then in New Jersey for her last 3 years. I will be a high earner as well as his spouse, not in medicine, but in other fields in software development. We currently live in North Carolina in a house that is paid off and it's worth 400K. And we don't plan on buying a house in New Jersey, given your advice on buying a home during residency. And we'll only be there for 3 years after we move there next year. So we need to decide what to do with our home here. Do we want to rent it out? Do we want to sell it when we move to New Jersey? We have never managed a property before, so we would probably use a property manager if we decide to keep it and rent it out. And I don't know if it makes a big difference, but we don't see ourselves moving back in here after residency is over. And I sort of wanted you to help me discuss the pros and cons of renting the house out and versus selling it and investing in the stock market, for instance. I like the idea of keeping it just to diversify into real estate, which is a type of investment that we don't currently pursue. But I also see the fees of property management to be sort of a waste, given that we'd be renting out a home here and paying rent at New Jersey. So I'd like your opinion on it if you have something to help me out. Thank you again for what you do.
Wow, what a great and fortunate situation to be in. Sell the house. That's my advice. Let's talk about the pros and cons. Um, the main benefit of holding on to this house is you have a real estate investment. Maybe, I can't even remember where you said this house was. Maybe in that community, home prices go gangbusters and it doubles in value in the next 4 years. That's the pro of holding on to it. Something like that could happen. I don't know that I'd count on that happening, especially with the direction interest rates have been going, but something like that could happen. You get some experience about learn a little more about real estate investing. That's not a terrible bad thing to have some experience. I think your experience is probably going to be bad though. Most people have a bad experience when they are renting out a house that is in another state. Because you're being a long distance landlord. You can't drive by and check on it every time something goes wrong. You got to pay somebody to go out there and do it. You got to trust the property manager. And that's like one of the hardest things to hire of all financial professionals. It's just not that fun. Number two, it's incredibly risky, right? Your entire real estate allocation is in one property. That's not exactly diversified. And you don't sound like you want to get into real estate investing. If you want to get into real estate investing, maybe the way to do it is to, take half the money out of this house and use it as a down payment on another house. So now you've got two properties. And hopefully one of them near where you live, but that's going to be hard with all the moving around going on in the next couple of years. But I'm not getting the impression that that's something you really want to do right now. And the truth is, now is probably not the time to do it. I would certainly tell your spouse that. You're busy during your training, your internship, your residency, you're busy. You don't need the distraction of being a real estate investor on the side. Get your training, become a good doc. You can do real estate investing later. It's much easier. You have more time and you have more income. And so it's not nearly as risky for you. And it just works out okay. So the cons, you could lose money on this house. You're definitely going to have serious hassle with it. Yes, you're going to have to pay property management and everything else that happens out there. You're not going to be very diversified. Lots of cons here. I think the cons outweigh the pros, so I would sell it. But the big risk, of course, that everybody worries about is what if home prices go up a lot and now I have trouble buying a home? Well, that's not going to be a problem for you. This thing's already paid off. You've got two high earners here. You've got a big chunk of change. Even if you don't even really invest this money, it's certainly going to be enough to be a good down payment on your doctor home when you're done. And it might even pay for the entire home, especially if it grows significantly. So, what would I do with it? Well, I would try to make it grow. You're going to need it in 4 years, though. So maybe not crazy, risky investment. You might not even want it 100% in stocks. You might want to put it into a mix of, half stocks, half bonds, or a third stocks, third bonds, a third cash, something like that. Maybe an income focused fund like a target retirement income fund. These sorts of investments that aren't maybe as volatile as something else. Another approach that somebody might take is they say, hey, this is real estate. Let's put it into something that will do well if real estate does well. And if it does poorly, because real estate does poorly, that's okay, because then maybe I'll be able to get my house a little bit cheaper as well. That's an option. You could put it into a real estate investment. I don't know that you're going to qualify as an accredited investor and have access to one of the private real estate funds. So you're probably limited to something like the Vanguard REIT index fund. But that's not only 100% stocks, it is, a fairly volatile, a sector of stocks. And so bad things can happen there. I lost 78% of my investment in that fund in the 2008 meltdown. So I don't know that I can, in good faith, recommend you put your whole house fund in there, but that would be one approach that some people would take. I would probably just put it into a mix of stocks and bonds and cash. Maybe even do something like a 4-year treasury bond or a 4-year CD. So the money's there when it comes time for you to buy a house again. That's not crazy, and you'll make whatever 4 or 5% on it a year. It'll be a little bit bigger than when you got there. Probably keep up more or less with inflation between now and then. Maybe not inflation of houses, because we don't know what that's going to be, but general inflation. But I'd sell it. I'd invest the money and not worry about it, and enjoy renting for the next couple of places you live until you get into your longer term jobs, and the jobs like you, and you like the jobs, and it's time to buy a house again. And I think you'll be glad to have all that cash sitting there ready to do so.
The hosts of The White Coat Investor are not licensed accountants, attorneys, or financial advisors. This podcast is for your entertainment and information only. It should not be considered professional or personalized financial advice. You should consult the appropriate professional for specific advice relating to your situation.